Hello everyone, AFC Finners here to celebrate 1K. We have my beloved Casillero El Diablo Chilean wine here to celebrate this special occasion. Good stuff. Once again, thank you to everyone that's got me to this milestone. I did not think it'd be something I'll be able to do in less than 2 years, but this is a big step in helping me live my dreams, and I couldn't have done it without you. So here's to you. Thank you very much. Let's answer some questions. Our first question comes from my good friend the Gloucester Groundhopper, aka Tom Aldo. He asks, what's your perfect Sunday? I tend to begin most Sundays hungover, I won't lie. A lot of the time the day before, I've gone on a ground hopping adventure, maybe gone to the pub in the evening and enjoyed match of the day. And try and relax most of it, sit down, enjoy some football, maybe go and see the grandparents, walk the dog. As the day goes on, you do get those Sunday blues as Monday comes around the corner, but I try to make the most of the football. Recently, since I'm more free on Sundays, been going down the local, enjoying a few pints, watching Super Sunday on Sky Sports. But yeah, that'll be my perfect Sunday, I think. Drink and football. The dream. Another good friend of mine, Luciano, asks, who's winning the Golden Boot in Qatar? That's a very good question. I'm going to say Messi. I think this is probably going to be his last international tournament. Maybe he'll do one more Copa America after this, but I think it's widely agreed this is probably his last chance to win a World Cup. And I think the fact that he's won the Copa America now takes a lot of the pressure off him. There's still a huge amount of pressure, don't get me wrong, but I think he knows this is his last chance, and he's really got back into goals at PSG this season. And I think even if he doesn't take the trophy home, he has a very strong chance of winning the Golden Boot. One of my biggest fans, and a man I've also collaborated with, Football Drawn, has asked me a series of questions, so let's go through them one by one. First off, he asks, what made you start the channel? I'm really glad someone's asked this, because I've wanted to tell this story for ages. So initially, I wanted to make this, I was just focused on ground hopping for the channel. I didn't have any of the football history ideas, so this was probably about late 2020, early 2021. I always wanted to be a YouTuber. I'd actually done a comedy channel that I literally did about 15 videos and gave up. It's on you to find out, I'm not telling you its name. And yeah, basically I wanted to do like ground hopping, but we were still locked indoors around that time, so it wasn't really something that was feasible at that time. But I remember one night I watched a video from one of my favourite channels, Tifo, I'm sure you're all familiar with and can clearly see the influence, and it's called Jose Luis Andrade, who was a Uruguayan player in the 1930s. A really fascinating story. I'd thoroughly recommend checking the video out. And he was basically like the star of that Uruguayan team, but died a drunk, penniless man in an asylum. And it's a heartbreaking story, but I remember sort of watching that video one night thinking, this would make a great movie, I wish I could do that. Wait, I can make videos, I have these facilities. And I also remember with Tifo, I once commented on one of their early videos saying, could you do a video on Grande Torino and William Falk? They've actually done their own video on Grande Torino, but I remember they responded sort of saying like, hi Finley, we'll add this to the list. But there's just so many different videos, and I kind of thought, hang on, I want to see these videos made, why don't I do it? So that night, I think I suddenly, a light bulb flickered above my head, and I was like, I'm going to make my own YouTube channel. And I quickly came up with this huge list that I still have of topics to do. I was just writing one topic after another I find interesting, and that's the story of how AFC Finners began. I think a few days later, I sat down in our spare room and wrote a video about Grande Torino, and the rest, as they say, is history. He also asked what the first few challenges were and making a channel. I suppose the key and obvious one was getting views, but I don't think that was as much of a challenge as other things I've done. Like in trying to get business with videography and photography, I've really struggled to get the attention of people. But I think knowing football like I do, it was easy to find the right people to connect with. It was still a massive challenge, don't get me wrong, and sometimes when the videos don't get enough views, it does worry me. But I didn't find it too challenging. I think just because I knew straight away exactly what I was doing. I suppose the hardest part was narration, because you look back at my first few videos and I speak a lot more hushed. It's kind of like I'm in the boot of a car or something, trying not to make too much noise. But I think as time grew, you can clearly see I've got more confident in my narration. I used to just record like huddled in a corner, but now I do it stood up all the time. So yeah, narration was probably the biggest challenge, but a lot of my videos while I was narrating my old style have got thousands of views, so it's worked out really well. I think we've still got challenges to get views, especially for the non-league ones, but I'm happy to take those challenges on. I don't see them as an issue. It's all part of the process. And to complete his hat-trick of questions, he asks, moreover, what are your tips to be a better narrator for a fellow content creator? That's another very good question. I think you can't do narration like you're having a conversation. I think the best way is to just look at other people and see how they narrate documentaries. So you look at someone like David Attenborough does it, you've got to look at what parts they enunciate, how they say the sentence, because it's very easy to sort of accidentally say it in a conversational tone, like, oh yeah, Grande Torino won 5 league titles in a row. So you can say, Grande Torino won 5 league titles in a row. Do you see what I mean? It's like, you just got to find the right parts to enunciate, but it's very much a case of practice makes perfect. The first few videos you make, you definitely go look back and think, oh god, that was awful. But it really just comes to practice. You've got to sort of look at it yourself, think about what you would want to hear when listening to a video, but also try not to overthink it. Just read the words and let them come, because I think if you think too much about narrating, you'll make mistakes because you're worried about making mistakes. Just try and let it flow naturally. And it's kind of hypocritical because I'm currently sitting down, but if you're doing narration, stand up when recording. It's so much easier to speak louder and more clearly. But yeah, that's my tips on narration. So our next question comes from Mandem909, and he asked me, what are your aims for the channel, and would you like to end up doing it full time? Yes, I would like to do it full time. That is one of the main aims for the channel. I tend not to set specific targets usually, I want to hit this many subs or whatever. I have had to for 1k because that means I can get monetized. But today I set up monetization on my channel. I've been accepted for it, and hopefully as the views continue to grow, I'll be able to make more and more money out of this. And that's the ultimate goal, to be able to do it full time, to be able to tell stories from football history and go to grounds up and down the country for a living. That would be the absolute dream. So yeah, hopefully be able to make a living with the channel. One thing I would like to expand into doing, I would love to set up an AFC Fitness podcast in the future. It is something I've been very close to setting up, and I know it's going to come across as a bit, well, stop talking about it and do it, and they're right, it's just a case of time management. And I think right now, if I set it up, it might take away some of the quality or production output of the content I do. So that is definitely 100% something I aim to do in the future, to help the channel grow. It's just not quite the right time yet. I don't know when I will do it, but it's definitely something I want to do. But yeah, the key aim is to be able to do this full time, and by reaching 1k, we've taken a big step towards that. Pierre Francesco Costa asks, how do you find and choose new ideas for your videos? So it was the list I referred to with when I started my channel. It was just that one night where I just came up with a huge list of different topics I found interesting on sort of Wikipedia binges. And in that one night, I think I wrote 100 different ideas, and I've still got a list that's absolutely gigantic. So I think if I don't come up with a single idea for a football history video for 2 years, I still have enough ideas to see me through to then. So I'm not worried at all. Sometimes things will just come up, there'll be mentions when people are talking about football, I'll be like, oh, I didn't know about that. It's a sort of did you know kind of things. So I will come across things whilst watching football or reading about it and be like, oh, I didn't know about that, let's pop it in the list. And when I make a video, it's usually a case of just going through that list, picking a topic and thinking, I'm going to do a video on that. In terms of ground hopping, Tom Aldo is very much the one who usually comes up with the ideas of where we're going to go, and he's knocks it out of the park. He usually sort of just researches what games are going on nearby within reasonable range of Gloucestershire, and we sort of pick and choose which ones we're going to do. And we've got a big list of ones we want to do for ground to ground as well. But what I like is, you know, if you don't do a stadium one time, you can still do it again in the future. You know, the stadiums aren't going anywhere. So yeah, that's how I come up with ideas, and I'm more than happy to hear any ideas from subscribers about topics to cover in the future, and grounds too. Good old Henrik, come on you Gunners, one of my biggest fans, he will be known to you as Rufus Ross in the comments section, has asked, what stadium has the best pie? And where is your favourite stadium you have been to? So the best pie was Chorley. The butter pie there was absolutely delicious. It was like a cheese and onion pasty in pie form. Absolutely wonderful. I'll struggle to find a better pie than that. Best stadium I've been to, I think overall, is Old Trafford. I've been there several times, and just that feeling when you step out and see that pitch, even when it's been empty, like on stadium tours, it's just an absolute incredible feeling. I don't think I've had a stadium that has given me quite a feeling like that. I think in terms of an overall experience at a stadium, the time we went to Nottingham Forest was stunning. Just like, it wasn't as good a stadium as Old Trafford, but everything about that game, the atmosphere, it was just absolutely incredible. But I think, yeah, Old Trafford is my best, but Nottingham Forest has had my favourite experience. What if football? Well, the key people who influence this channel ask a wonderful niche question for football hipsters. Who would you rather go back in time to see play in the flesh? Matthias Sindelar or Nandor Hidegkuti? It's got to be Hidegkuti, hasn't it? The original false number 9, seeing that when everyone's playing Sean Dyche Brexit football in the 50s, it's something to behold. Mentioning Nandor Hidegkuti's false 9 position is a perfect chat line, so Nandor, I would pick you. Sorry, Sindelar. Honest American asks a very good question. What is your favourite video you have made? So overall, in terms of both types of videos I do, I would say Joe Fagan. The video I did on Joe Fagan, the former Liverpool manager, it was one of the earliest videos I made, but I think just in terms of the story, the fact that he's a man who's really been forgotten but deserves so much more credit, and just everything about him in that story just added up. The script just seemed to write itself. It was a really emotional video to make as well, but I think it just tells the story so perfectly. It feels like a movie, and I was absolutely delighted with that one, and I hope that it's helped keep Joe Fagan's name alive and teach people who didn't know anything about him about his life. So here's to you, Joe Fagan. I think also for that, I think it would be good to answer what ground hopping video I think is the best, and I don't think I'll be surprising anyone when I say it was Nottingham Forest. You wonder why? Watch the video and you will see. My good friends at the Anglo-Italian pod, I've already answered about the pie. The best pint, I would say Newent. If you go back to my Newent video, you will see that they had a really cool pint of Guinness where they'd sort of fill it up to about here, like if it's a pint glass, that equivalent, and they put it on this device that sort of puts like electromagnetic pulses or something through it, but it takes the head all the way to the top. I think Guinness is one of the best drinks in the world, but I've never had it like that, so I think the pint at Newen was glorious, yet to be beaten. They also asked the worst toilets. I think that was Gloucester City. The stadium was really nice, but there was toilet paper all over the floor, very dirty, and neither of the stall doors locked. Not pleasant. Dale Skit asks, what would be your ultimate bucket list ground that you have yet to visit? I think it would have to be La Bombonera, Boca Juniors Stadium. I've seen videos of the atmosphere and it just looks like nothing else. To go to a game in Argentina would be absolutely fantastic at any team, but I think from the videos I've seen, there's not anything like that. I think there's definitely ones that come close. I think I've been to Johan Cruyff Arena, but not for a game. I'd love to see one there. De Kuip at Feyenoord, walked around, but not been to a game too. St James's Park, I'd love to do, but I feel like it's going to be difficult getting tickets over the next few years. Iduna Park, Borussia Dortmund, that would be amazing. Yeah, Iduna Park would be right up there, but yeah, I think on the whole, La Bombonera Stadium, Boca Juniors. And so, that wraps up the first ever AFC Finners Q&A. Thank you to everyone that submitted a question, and thank you for helping me get this far. It's a huge milestone, but I'm sure thanks to you, it won't be the last. I'll continue making videos diving through football history and going ground to ground. Without you all, none of this would be possible. Thank you all for helping me start to live my dreams. I'm sure that you will help me much more along the way. AFC Finners is here to stay. Let's drink to that. Thank you all. See you in the next one.